I just finished playing the Terra Swoop Force map by the Noxcrew, and it was unsurprisingly very good. Was it my favourite map of all time? No. Was it good? Yes. Would I recommend this map to everyone? Kinda. And I have a good reason for saying that. If you think that this is the best map ever made, then I am fine with that. Personally, I had a few problems with the map, but these are just my opinions. You can play the map and decide for yourself if you liked the map or not, but I'll leave that up to you. This is my video, and I'm going to voice my opinions. Please keep in mind that while I agree I could never create a map of this quality myself, that does not mean it is exempt from criticism. Like almost everything. You're allowed to criticize whatever the heck you want for whatever reason, so long as you can provide evidence for your thinking. And isn't that the point of free speech anyway? Okay, let's start the review. Spoilers ahead. The object of the game is to fly down into the center of the Earth using electromechanics and find the missing scientists down there. I'm not going to lie, even though this isn't my favorite map, it has the best presentation for a map I have ever seen. I think that's why people love it so much. It has a decent story, fantastic animations, a good sense of humor and self-awareness, a beautiful balance between Minecraft textures and custom models, a custom soundtrack, and a very, very, very impressive attention to detail. I won't pick apart every single thing about this map, but I'll talk about the main elements used in the map. When I actually started the game, I was immediately impressed with what I'd call the main feature of this map, the builds. It was linear enough to understand, but had enough branches and secrets to make it feel like I was part of a larger world. The buildings were not so huge that I got lost and frustrated, but had enough secret places and rooms to immerse me in the environment. In addition to this, the balance between custom models and default textures is very well executed. Noxcrew used vanilla textures wherever they could and used custom models only when absolutely necessary, and thus nothing really felt out of place in the game. The ambient sounds included are a nice touch and one of my favourite things about the map. As soon as I heard these ambient sounds in the lobby, I knew I was going to be playing a great map. If you are ever aiming to create a high quality map, ambient sounds will take you far, as they are a fantastic method of immersing the player with the world. The map included an ambient humming sound in the lobby, and it was loud enough to be present but not loud enough to become extremely noticeable. A+ to you guys for that. It's really annoying when an obvious feature is included just for the sake of looking impressive and not actually adding to the experience, so I appreciate the restraint in volume. The only thing I felt was missing in terms of soundscape was a little bit of rustling in the bushes after I left the helicopter. Small detail, but it would have completed the soundscape. The NPCs having conversations in the background were my favourite thing about the map. Eavesdropping on random conversations as you walk by and listening to some of the backstories to the NPCs was very immersive and very enjoyable, and I'd love to see more of this happening in future maps. It was cool to walk around and hear a joke or story that I didn't expect, and it added a layer of depth to the world. An issue that stuck out to me in terms of sound was the high volume of my footsteps, which were distractingly louder compared to the rest of the sounds in the game. While this is a small issue, it can be easily fixed, and its presence did take me out of the experience a bit. When I was greeted by the first NPC in the game, I was immediately introduced to the humour used in this map. While I did not laugh at any of the jokes, they were extremely enjoyable.
Are we finished? Whew.
There were some slapstick jokes tossed around every now and then, but there was enough subtle humour you can discover in the map that it could appeal to a variety of audiences.
Named the Thermal Flight Armor 1541.
I appreciate how this map does not take itself too seriously in terms of story, and it definitely added to the experience. It's difficult to create a completely serious story about flying to the centre of the Earth given minimal dialogue, so I really liked Noxcrew's approach to the tone and story of the map. Imagine if they went for something grim and depressing. It probably would not have worked very well given the limited amount of dialogue in the game and the style of the build, so I'm glad the elements of humour were created throughout the map. The attention to detail in general is nothing short of awesome. The elevator felt extremely smooth. The shark in the tank not only added life to one of the rooms, but it also added a touch of humour. I feel like the shark was placed there as a way of mocking this cliche. If that wasn't intended, it was still the impression it gave to me. Right-clicking some signs would cause a text box to appear as if I was reading signs in a museum. I loved this. It's such a small detail, but it can tell so much about the world. It's completely optional, and to some extent it's even hidden, and that's what makes it even more effective when discovered. I feel like I'm the one learning about the world instead of it being force-fed to me because the creators feel like cramming in more information to tell their story. So I love this detail. I absolutely love it. The first issue I had with the details and presentation of this map occurred when I first spawned. I did not appreciate the wall of text that immediately appeared in front of me as soon as I spawned. So this wall of text basically informed me about the resource pack I needed. I had to open to the LAN world and to relog when I encounter weird bugs. This is important information that I don't think should be removed, but I do believe it could have been better presented. Now the reason why I feel like the wall of text was annoying is because the text box is temporary and I have to immediately press the chat button to keep the text up and read all the information. If a player was lagging really hard like I was when entering the map, then there is a chance that they could miss the text entirely. In general, I just felt extremely overwhelmed by the information immediately given to me. The solution to this is in Hypixel's map Herobrine Returns, made in March 2014. The lobby is open and spacious, and the requirements and rules were written neatly on a panel of signs, and thus the player is less overwhelmed by the information, but it is still clear and easy to discover. I understand signs aren't the best way of communicating information, but what if the player does not have a resource pack enabled? All you have to choose from are chat messages, floating text, signs, and written books. And of all those things, the signs would probably have suited the most because they do not disappear after a few seconds, and they are a more intuitive and less overwhelming way of communicating the requirements. Speaking of the starting lobby, it looked nice and had a beautiful blend of Minecraft textures and custom resources, which featured the game's logo. However, it felt a little bit cramped. It would not have hurt to increase the size of the lobby just a little bit, especially if you are expecting up to 10 players to play this map. The main story and mechanics of the map are told through a video in the first building. What a fitting way to inform the player about the map's mechanics and stories. There are even chairs you can sit on. I did feel like this video was on the long side, but it had enough entertaining features in it to keep me from being bored while informing me about the game.
That when cooked at a temperature of 3,456 degrees, along with a cow's udder, apple cider vinegar, a few gummy bears, dried washing up liquid, and a spleen of a... You know what? In brief, it allowed us to create a new alloy that we managed to translate into a fully fledged metallic wingsuit, named the Thermal Flight Armor 1541.
The particle effects and animations when putting on the suit for the first time increased the suspense of playing the map and made me more excited to dive in. Loving the homage to GLaDOS, by the way.
Thermal resistance gel application complete. Welcome to the TFA 1541.
Another flaw I can think of in terms of detail were the invisible walls that I encountered just before launching into the first level. Why can't I go down there? It's nothing huge, it just bothered me a little bit. The introduction to the actual game was also a huge highlight for me. The music could not have picked a better time to enter. The loud blaring sirens and sounds combined with the music and visual effects was amazing to experience. Map makers, take note. This is a fine example of how to introduce your game.
Warning. Borehole hatch doors are preparing to open. Please stand clear of the drop zone. Remember, GDL will not be held responsible in the event of a likely death. Your descent will begin in 3, 2, 1.
The restraint up until this point made this moment right here, very effective, and I commend this map for it. All in all, the introduction to this map was extremely enjoyable. Rarely did I find myself bored, and Noxcrew, hands down, I am so impressed. This is fantastic. So this video is getting a bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up here. This has been about all the details and buildings. Next episode, I'm going to address the mechanics, and oh boy, I have a lot to talk about. So thanks everyone for watching. I will see you in the next one, part 2. Bye.